All right, I appreciate it, JG, and thankful for the guys that are in this forum to learn. You know, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than open to answering things. And also, if you have any ideas, please share them. I got my notepad in front of me because it's all about learning, and I'm not one to think that I have all the right answers. So I know that I'm all about learning from different guys. Been watching this forum for the last couple of weeks. It's been going and taking some good notes. So I appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. Just want to talk about Campbell University wide receiver culture and fundamentals. I really believe that culture and fundamentals go hand in hand because culture is what you do in your room and how that bleeds down into your fundamentals and your core beliefs as well. So one thing we always talk about as far as our mantra is we're the unit. It's kind of a name that we give ourselves as the wide receiver group. And we'll talk more about that as we go along. So when we talk culture, first and foremost, when I was trying to decide what the culture of my position room should be, I had to look at a few different things. What's the culture of the university? What's the culture of our team, first and foremost? Those two things stand above all else. What's the culture of our offense? What does my coordinator want me to bleed into these guys? What is his beliefs? What does he want to instill? And what does he want to carry as an offense? And then my culture comes last after that. And I'm a big believer in all those things. Everything that I preach should be exactly the same stuff that, one, my coordinator wants to preach, and the second, what our head coach and our university want to preach as well, because I can't be speaking a different message than everybody else. I think that's the only way you can have some uniform beliefs amongst your team is if every coach is doing the same thing, you know, speaking the same message, talking about the same things that the head coach and their coordinators want to speak about. So when we talk about our team culture, our head coach is a big believer in everything matters. It's very short, very sweet, very simple. And we preach it every day. We say it in everything that we do. You go in the weight room, we yell at the guys, everything matters as far as they're moving around, going to class, doing everything right, because everything matters. All the details and everything that you do matter. And it's 3 points to that is effort, passion, and discipline. If you give effort and industriousness and you want to work hard and put the work in, all right, and you got to have some passion behind what you do because obviously we're some passionate people as coaches. You have to be to work in this profession. It's not easy without it. And then the third piece is discipline, all right, and that's the hard part to instill to 17 to 22-year-olds. They think they know everything. They think they come from places where some of them had to take care of their families. Some of them didn't have to take care of anything. And trying to mesh that together and help them all learn the life discipline rules and different things to help them become a man is what we're really about at Campbell as far as the team culture goes. Offensive culture, our coordinator always talks about flip the switch. And that's just a mindset about anything. If we got to go on the field to change possession, flip the switch. We got to go on the field because the defense, the opposing team scored, flip the switch. If it was a big explosive play and they score and the momentum seems to be gone, flip the switch. We get off that bench and we flip the switch and we're ready to go. We're explosive. We're going to be multiple and we're going to be methodical. We're not going to always be flashy. We're going to do what's necessary and take the necessary steps to do what we got to do to win the game. And I think that's something that has to be talked about, especially when you're talking about a receiver room, because you got a bunch of guys that just want to run post routes and go routes and fade routes in the red zone and catch the ball over people, and they want to live the highlight tape version of football, and that's not the truth. A lot of them spend a lot of time watching YouTube links of, you know, DeAndre Hopkins and all those guys and Julio Jones and those guys playing, and all they see is the big plays. They don't see the blocks in between for the first 10 plays of the game. They don't see the slant catch where he just got tackled for an 8-yard gain and made a play that doesn't really get talked about. And those are types of things that I find myself having to speak about a lot because it's an arrogant position by nature. I played it. Everybody wants the ball. It's a Kobe mentality in a way. And I like that fact, but you also got to have some kind of team effort as well. Because you want guys to want the ball, but you also want guys to be a part of the team. And so that's kind of what we came up with the unit mantra. A story about that, when I was coaching defensive backs a few years ago, we had a safety came in the room before training camp, and he said that he wanted the he wanted the group to come up with a name. He wanted the group to be a part of a group and have a mantra about themselves and have something that they can carry together. And so they came up with the name Stat Boys, and they're still using that now in that position room. But that year alone, I think we were number 5 in the nation, or top 5 in the nation in turnovers, because that was what we talked about. That was what we said at the end of every meeting, at the end of every practice, at the end of every gathering together. It was Stat Boys, and we knew if we took care of our job and our role within the unit, and on defense, we would take care of our part in the game. And that year we did. And so I thought that was very interesting how that mindset trickled down to the kids. And so I wanted to carry that same thing over. So then we came up with the unit, just being about a brotherhood, just being about playing together. And our running back coach always talks about how your receiver room should look like a basketball team. You should have your point guard, you should have your power forward, you should have your center, you should have your small forward, you should have your slasher. And that's exactly what it is. And some guys are going to be big and tall and they can jump. Some guys are going to be small and quick, and some guys are going to be medium height and can run really fast. But they all have different skills and attributes that together as a unit create a dangerous force. But individually, it doesn't stand out. We can only stand out as a unit, as a group, as a brotherhood. So that's something that we preach every day to each other, and just trying to grow that bond together. And so then with all those factors in mind, kind of trickled down to the room culture. I try to treat the meeting room like teaching a class. So I'm sure most of us can understand. Some of us in the chat teach classes, some of us don't, but we can all understand that mindset because coaches are teachers. So I always try to go in every day with a plan, because guys will know when you don't have a plan. They'll know when you're just making stuff up on the fly. They'll know when you're walking in with some bullshit, to be honest. So they're not stupid, and they know. They feed off that energy. So what I do every day is I write the daily agenda on the board pre-meeting. I try to get in there before they do and write it down so that when the first thing they see is the itinerary for what we're going to go over. Second thing is I play music. I'm a big believer in that. I know some people aren't, but I listen to music when I'm watching tape. I listen to music all throughout the course of the day in the office, going over all the different things that we have to do, watching recruits, all that. So, and they do too. They play video games and music. They study the music. They go to class, listen to music. So I feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle if I decide that we're going to be silent in the meeting room. And it gives them something to look forward to. I mean, you always get that one kid that wants to play whatever song he likes that day, and it kind of gets them excited about being in there as opposed to just dreading another meeting. We spend the first 5 minutes every day talking about culture, just whatever we can hit, asking them what the team culture means to them, showing them examples of different plays in games, maybe our games, maybe other games I've seen on tape, just showing them exactly what fighting for our culture looks like, and just examples of what it's not and what it is. And just continuously reminding them every day of what our culture as a group is. And then we always talk about we're here to respect the game and not be liked. And that falls into these categories that we have as a wide receiver group. And I'm going to go over these real quick. No loafs, that's in and outside the building. So that carries over to the weight room, the training room, the classroom. All of those factors play into loafs. Grades. I was coming in. We were one of the lowest groups on the team, and we're trying to bump that up every semester, and we have. And so we just push. We have a team GPA goal, a group GPA goal of a 2.8, and we're just pushing every day to make sure that we're talking about it every day. We're going over our assignments every day. We're just hashing it out. And I know some guys are going to get it done, and then I got a group of guys that I got to be on every day. And they know, and I call them out in front of everybody so that everybody understands it's a group effort and not just me trying to yell at them or me trying to get on them. It's a group effort for all of us to reach these goals. We talk about bringing pen and paper every day, pen and notebook to the room, always be prepared. And then strong ego versus weak ego was something that I heard about a year ago, and I thought it was really interesting. We always hit that. Weak ego is a man who's so worried about his position and where he's at that he's so scared to help somebody else. He's scared that person's going to take his position. He's going to take his playing time. He doesn't want to give back. A strong ego is somebody who understands their role within the game. They understand what they bring to the table, and they believe in themselves. And they're not scared of giving back to the younger kid who's talented and showing some promise, because they understand that they have value in this game as well. And they understand that by giving back to the guys below them, they help carry this program forward. We can't live without a strong ego in our building, in this sport. Too many weak egos break your team down, and we need a group of strong ego men who are willing to give back to the younger guys, build them up, and give back to the guy next to them. Talk, communicate on the field, help each other out. If somebody doesn't get to play, let them know. Talk to each other, communicate, and build that culture. And then the fifth thing is special teams role. If you're not on special teams, you don't travel. And that's something we implemented after this season because we just got too many guys in our room that can play on special teams. And it's just got to be a factor because special teams wins and loses you games. And you want your most talented people on the field at all times. So they have a rule of being on one unit minimum, and some of them are going to be on several. But I don't care if you're the starter, the number one guy, you're going to be on some unit. Now, you might not get used, and that's up to the coordinator's discretion, but you're going to fight for that role on that special teams unit just like you would fight for playing time as an X receiver or a Z receiver or an F receiver in our offense. And if you don't, you just won't travel. We'll find those guys who want to do that, and they'll play. And then coaches promise that I tell them every day. I promise to come in and be prepared. I promise to put them in a position to be successful, and they have to trust that. And that's why I bring it up as much as I can, because I think that's how you build that unity factor as far as trust goes. And then I promise I have a strong ego. I'm going to come in there and be able to listen to what they have to say, hear their concerns. And sometimes being a wide receiver coach is more so listening to guys talk about how they didn't get the ball. And that's okay, because, I did it. And so they have to have an outlet to get that kind of stuff out, or it can become a negative cancer. And you can't berate them or make them feel bad for feeling that way, because you want them to have that want the ball mentality. But you just got to keep reemphasizing at the end of it, having a strong ego, caring about the team, and moving forward. So we'll get into the fundamentals part of what we do here. We talk about stance. I apply the 80-20 rule, so I want 80% of the pressure on the front foot. 20% pressure can be dispersed across the rest of the body on the back foot. You look at Caleb Sneed, number 8 here in this picture. I want a good bend in our 3 power angles. That'd be our hips, knees, and ankles. If we have free access, meaning that man's not in front of us, we can have our hands holstered. We can have our hands. Guys like to rest them on their knees. I'm not a big stickler on that type of stuff, but I do believe when you get pressed, man, you got to get your hands up ready to fight. Foot placement is key. That front foot, we want it cocked. And the reason we want it crooked in our alignment and our stance, we talk about 11 o'clock foot placement, is because their first step is always, if your foot is straight, is always going to be to take a false step and then go. So by taking that crooked foot, that 11 o'clock step, we can overemphasize getting that weight going forward, getting that pressure dispersed going forward, so that way our momentum is carrying us out of our stance. And then when we get press man, we talk about a 6-inch step. So that really just means, and I just gave him kind of a landmark, for every kid is going to be different. I want to move my back foot out a little wider and a little closer to my body. And the only reason is because I want to be able to go quicker laterally to get that DB, defensive back, to move off his landmark so that I can get vertical. And some kid, and I tell some guys based on who we're playing, if they got an aggressive press man corner, or they got a motor mirror guy who's just going to back up off at the line, if they need to take the 6-inch step or not. But we talk about that as far as it applies to playing press man, that you got to overemphasize that 6-inch step. I want to go a little step 6 inches wider and take a few inches closer to my body. And it's never going to actually play out to be 6 inches, but it's just something to give them a rule. Then we talk about blocking. Blocking starts with the feet. We want a wide base. Again, a good bend in our power points, and you'll hear that over and over and over again. Hips, knees, and ankles are our 3 power points, and we want loaded hands. And then we talk about our ABCs: alignment, bead, collision. I got this from my wide receivers coach when I was playing, and I carried it over, and I thought it was good. Alignment is just, where is that defensive guy aligned, reading my triangle to find out who am I going to. Bead, your key. Who's the force key? What angle do I need to take? Do I need to flip my feet to take a flat first step so I can scoop them out in the slot? or do I have time to take a vertical angle to climb to that next level? Or am I outside releasing the guy on a force block, trying to get around him to the next level? And then collision, just attack and drive, good bend, good base, and good strong hands and exploding through your hips. So we talk about the hand reset drill, and just real quick, just overemphasizing a defensive back having his hands in our chest, and we just got to get his hands down and reset our hands in his chest. And we talk about getting under those armpits and drive him out. So I start him high, we swat the hands down and replace, and it should be as quick as possible. And you'll see some guys going slower, some guys going faster, because some guys are teaching and some guys have done this before. And I'm a big believer in walk, talk, teach. So we want to walk it, talk it, and then we want to go full speed with it. So, but you can see number 7 does a good job of dropping his base, good bend, good hand placement. And obviously with pads, we like to be a little bit more aggressive. Some of these kids with brother-in-law a little bit with no pads. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to have our hands just pushing the guy on his outside of his shoulders like you see number 9 doing. And then we don't want to duck our head. I don't know if you can see my man in the dreads. He just ducks his head at contact. We do not want to do that. We want to make sure we have a good upright position, exploding through our hips with a good bend in our hip, knees, and ankles. And it's all basically just like how we do a power clean. It's the same explosive points. Then we do a bag punch drill, and this comes into play when you're kind of playing a press corner, a cloud corner, somebody who's going to be in your face right now, just exploding off that ball. If we got to block him right now at the line of scrimmage, exploding off the rock, off that line of scrimmage, and just getting your weight, going right into him, exploding into his chest. And it's the same thing, same rules. Hand placement right underneath the armpits, explode through your hips, knees, and ankles, driving for 5 with good chest angle. We don't want to duck our head. We want to explode through our hips. We want full extension, and we want to be able to control this man, all right? So I think number 1 down here in the bottom is doing a good job. That's a good rep. And it's almost like a duck walk that the offensive line does. Once you get into his chest, you kind of want to walk it out, duck walk, and then we just drive for 5, then rest. Next guy up. So then you look down here at the bottom. These are situations where these drills will play out. We got a cloud corner. They were playing a lot of cover 2 against us, and we're trying to run bubble schemes, and we're trying to run RPO schemes to get the ball out here or influence the flat defender with the slot receiver. I told these guys that you can't necessarily run these guys off because it might look like man, but they're not really playing man. They're just playing a press aggressive cloud corner with his eyes inside, looking for that bubble to trigger. You're going to run right by him, and he's going to kill your man. So we're just going to have to take this week. We're going to have to block him at the point of contact and take him out. So exactly what we're doing here. That's the back punch drill, exploding through your hips, driving this man, don't duck your chest. Now he gets overextended at a point, loses his bearing. Also the defender grabs him a little bit, but he's overly aggressive, which I'm okay with as long as you understand where you're at on the field and can kind of force this man where you want him to go. Overall, it's good fight and good effort. Because my slot receiver is being smart. He understands his cloud coverage. He's seeing a lot of it. If he's going to get the ball, it's going to come slow. It's going to happen in the alley. It's not necessarily going to hit wide this week. Up at the top of the screen, again, they were playing some cloud coverage as well. So the press corner does not always tell the truth. Right here, it looks like they're spinning to a 1 high cover 1 scheme. But based on our rules that week, we were told just block them straight up, man to man at the point of contact. Explode, back punch drill, drive. Now, I wish he could have just held on to it for a little longer. But that's exactly all we want to do is just seal them off, create a lane for our running back to hit vertical. All right, next drill we talk about is the mirror drill. So all this is just emphasizing the defensive back off of us, backpedaling a little bit, and then working our angles out. So how we start the first part of the drill is just he's flat-footed. We're going to extend out. Once he starts to shuffle either direction, we lower our base and we start to shuffle with him just so we can close contact, close the air, all right, close space, and get our hands in a good place, good position, and drive. All right. We walk it, we talk it, then we move it. We move the pace up a little bit. Now we add a back pedal portion to it. Guys start to play around with it, start to be DBs. I'm all good with it. We're having fun. We're also working, all right? But again, we explode off the ball. Once we close the air, now I don't give them the 4-yard rule, the 5-yard rule. I tell them when they close halfway between the defender, and you know yourself better than anybody else. Some guys can slow down quicker, some guys can't. But I say rule of thumb is when you're halfway between you and the defender, start to slow yourself down, understanding leverages and angles. He can see the ball carrier, you cannot. So we, at that point, have to lower our base. We have to basically duck walk and close the air as fast as we can with a nice wide base, loaded hands, good bend in our 3 power angles, and then drive. And then a good example, number 8 here. All right, if the defender is not going to let you just drive him back, and this is a good rep by 3, giving him a good look, just take him where he wants to go. If he wants to go wide, take him wide and give the running back a lane to cut off your butt at this point. So how we carry these things over, we do competition drills between us and the defensive backs, which I really love because it gives us that one-on-one competition, and also it helps us work these live blocking drills without having to do a bunch of team run reps with the offensive line and D-line. So we start in this box 5x5. One of the coaches will stand behind the defensive back. We call it the towel drill. He has a towel in his hand. We give him a snap, a simulated snap. So there's a center who's snapping his foot. He's off camera right now. Once he says that, everybody backpedals. The defensive back reacts to the towel, and where the towel goes is the leverage of the ball. So he wants to obviously he wants to go to the ball carrier, and we want to take that defender out of the box. So to win the drill basically is you drive your man outside this box. All right. Now again, close halfway between you and the defender, widen your base. Get yourself ready to go, loaded hands, explode through your hips, and drive, okay? This drill really just exposes the guys who shy away from the contact and the guys who want it, okay? Also takes, it's a short area drill, which can relieve some of the stress of having to take full team reps, having guys run 20 yards, 30 yards to block a defender. Defensive backs having to do the coverage piece and all that. It's just one-on-one, mano-a-mano. You get both the defensive backs technique and the receivers techniques. All right, again, trying to block him towards his leverage. All right, take him outside the box. Good power position. Loaded hands. Explode. I don't like the fact that his hands go back behind his body, but I do like his hand placement at the end of it. All right, and the finish. Number 1 was a good blocker. He came from a triple option team. He was transferred from Georgia Southern. So the blocking piece was not something that he lacked on.
Coach, there was a question here.
Okay.
For that blocking drill, is the side predetermined for the wide receiver?
For the ball?
Yes.
Yes, it is. And we'll rotate it every now and again. After a few reps, we'll say ball's inside on the right side. And then after a few reps, we'll switch the other side and say ball's on the left side now. That way they flip their feet. Also the defender has a different vantage point, and they have different angles they got to take. Because you want guys to learn how to explode off of both feet. We don't want to just keep doing it with everybody taking their guys will lean to their power foot as opposed to training their weak foot. And we want to make sure we try to overemphasize training the weak foot as much as possible. All right. You take a look in the slot right here. The F receiver, taking that angle, approach, cutting them off. Good base, good feet. And at the end of the day, we just got to shield our defender from making the tackle. I tell them, I want your hands on the guy at the end of every play, and your guy should never be responsible for making the tackle, or it's pretty much a loaf in your department, okay? Again, you can see the techniques down here at the bottom. Cover 4 corner, playing skate technique. They're rotating to a 3 cloud. Again, but you have to take an angle of approach. It's inside run to go dig him out and see. So this is not exactly halfway, but he understands his body and his position. That defensive back starts to square up. He squares up. He's got a good amount of distance between him, about 4 to 5 yards. He's in a good position to shuffle his way, close the air out, and be in a position to block this defensive back, seal him off from making this run. And nowadays with the running game, the run action, obviously with the quarterback read game, you don't know if the quarterback's going to have the ball or you don't know if this back's going to hit it out front side. So you got to be prepared for that defensive back to go anywhere. That DB can run across the field. He can run back at you, but you got to be prepared to take a proper angle to cut him off because it's your responsibility at the end of the day. And we had a running quarterback last year, so for sure, the ball could have hit anywhere, anytime, and you just never knew. So everybody had to be responsible for making sure that they cut their guy off. All right, next point we talked about within our room is catching the ball. Obviously, I think this is a no-brainer for receivers, but in the room, the drops are unacceptable. If it hits our hands, we got to come down with it. And I fought this battle for the first several months because guys naturally want to create excuses for themselves because no one ever wants to be wrong. And that's something that everybody has to accept that, you know what, it's your responsibility to get the ball. The ball's not going to be perfect. We're not playing with Tom Brady or Brett Favre in the backfield. It's a true freshman quarterback who's doing his best job and his damnedest to get us the ball. And we got to make sure that we can make him look as good as possible and come up with as much plays as we can. And that's something that they adapted to and took hold of as the year went on.
Coach, just a quick question Coach had just in regards to the blocking before you move on. Are the wide receivers working a particular leverage depending on run scheme or just working a whole defender?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We talk two different types of runs, inside runs and outside runs. And the guys know that based off the play call. If it's an inside run, we always want to aim for that inside eye of the defender, the inside via that neck. We want heavy hands inside. What I mean by that is we want to essentially square him up, but I want my heaviest hand and pressure to be applied to my inside leverage and cut him off if I can. And in the slot, we more so talk about dig out blocks, which just applies heavier to them, or more so to them than anybody. We want to take a flat first step and take an angle of approach to cut that defender off because we know we're protecting the inside leverage. And the 9 times out of 10, that running back and inside runs are going to hit inside of us. So we got to be prepared for that to cut him off. Outside runs, same emphasis. We want a heavy hand on the outside pad, understanding that we don't want to just give him an inside seam, but we want to aim for the outside via that neck, the outside number, and put our heaviest hand on that outside armpit. So that way, when that ball carry does get to our backside, we can now have all our pressure applied to that outside arm and cut him off and create a lane for our running back to hit outside of us. In reality, we teach these leverages that way the running backs know where they can predict that their lane's going to be. But at the end of the day, we want to take the best leverage we can. And obviously, if a defender beats us across our face, just wash them down. But those are the aiming points that we talk about when it comes to inside and outside runs. And when we do our blocking drills, when we do the mirror drill, when we do the more so the mirror drill and the block the towel drill, we talk about inside and outside runs. That way the guys know exactly what run's coming at them and they can know what kind of block they need to take. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir.
When we talk about catching, is the next piece. Again, drops are unacceptable, and we fought that battle for a while, but there's no excuses within the group. And so now it's gotten to the point where guys start to explain themselves within the room. Everybody starts to look at them like, what are you doing? And it becomes a thing where everybody's just like, you know what? You're right. I got to come up with that catch. I got to make that play. And I tell them, if you want to be the highlight player, you got to make highlight plays. And highlight plays don't come from easy catches. Highlight plays come from pictures like this of Jalen Kelsey going up over 2 people and making a catch in traffic. Those are the plays that people are going to remember. So if you want to be that type of player, you got to have that kind of mentality. In the 3 phases, we talk about eyes through tuck. I yell that every single day in every single drill that we do because I think guys need to hear it. They get annoyed at me. They get mad some days when they just don't feel like being there. but I really don't care because they need to hear it. And it's something that we're going to overemphasize every day with every position. Tight ends, running backs, every day when we do ball security or line drill when it comes to catches, we're talking about it every day, yelling it out. Body control, I believe that's a God-given ability, but it's something that can be a learned skill if you train it. And I teach them slow is smooth is fast. So understanding your body speed and what it takes for you to be able to control yourself is your playing speed, and then grow from there. And we'll talk more about that as we go. And then hands. We want to attack the ball, arms extended from our body. We want to make a diamond shape with our hands, and we want to be able to embrace the contact, the pressure of the ball as it's coming in, and we want to catch this thing away from our body as much as possible. Because obviously as defenders are chasing us back downhill, they have the same fight to the ball. And if we try to take everything to the body, we try to alligator arm it, it gives the defender the chance to reach over top of us and get the ball out. And when I was coaching DBs, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted you to alligator arm so we could shoot our hands through and knock that ball out. But the further your arms are extended from the body, the harder it is for that defensive back to reach his hands through and get the ball out. All right, then we talk about the catching drill progression. Came up with this after the season, and I was really hoping to get it on tape. Unfortunately, with the whole situation we got going on, we didn't really, but get on film. But the guys know it, and we've been doing it for the last several months. Break it down into 3 phases: partner ball drills, hand-eye drills, and then grip strength. And all these things can be done with tennis ball, so you can utilize it at any point in the year. Ball drills we do on the wall. We toss tennis balls on the wall. We do slap shots, something that I got from a talk that Coach Fleck gave that I saw on the internet one day. And it's just different types of drills, just work hand-eye coordination with the ball on the wall. I tell them to juggle every day. So grab a bunch of tennis balls. Oh my gosh, should be at home right now with a bunch of tennis balls, just juggling every day. And I think that's important because I think you can't fall off with the hand-eye coordination. And it can't be something that's overlooked. I think it's very important. It looks funny. It sounds funny, but it's really imperative, and it works. The results pay off. And then grip strength, wrist push-ups, brick catches. We had a bunch of loose bricks from the building we found one day when they were doing some reconstruction. Grab those, try to do those as much as possible. Forearm holds with plates in the weight room, pronated curls in the weight room. And then we got these new grip strength test kits in the weight room this year. So we test everybody's grip strength at the beginning. We kind of go through a whole course. We're going to go through the whole course of spring ball and test them at the end. I think that's, if you can do those types of things to test these guys, it gives them kind of like something to achieve and shoot for. Because if I didn't test them and I just told them to go there and increase their grip strength, the guys are just going to look at me funny. But if I test them and they see, oh, this guy's stronger than me, now it becomes a competition of how we're going to compete to have the strongest grip strength within the room, how we're going to compete to be that guy who can apply the most pressure to the machine and stuff like that. Just creating competition as much as we can wherever we can. And then the next thing, releases. One thing you'll hear me say is always be a great salesman. Every day we talk about releases is be a great salesman, and that's it. Releases broke down into 3 phases. All right, the spot phase, which is we're just trying to move our opponent off his spot, attacking that short arm or that leverage point of the defender. 2, combat phase, hand-to-hand combat. We got to get his hands down, get his hands off us, and get back, leaning back into his body. And then number 3, the lane phase. We always want to work back and recreate our line. And I always say win in lane 2. And so I give them this diagram of a track lane. Lane 2 is always where we want to be. That's ideal. That's where we start in our position. And we don't want to get lane 3 is inside of us because the ball is always, this is on the left side. The ball is always in our right. Lane 3, we're getting washed inside. Lane 1, we're getting washed outside. We always want to win lane 2. And so the guys know it. It's become a thing for them. So when we show clips on film, like, where do you guys want to win? They say, we want to win lane 2. So I don't care if you got to go out to lane 1, but at the end of the day, when you're getting back to restack, you better be in lane 2. Now, there's some routes that are going to take us to lane 1. There's some routes that are going to take us to lane 3. And that's just those love of the game routes where we're probably not getting the ball. We're still running hard, acting like we are. But majority of our concepts, we want to win to lane 2. We want to win in our leverage. We want to we want to recreate our line. And this is, we're talking press man. And then we talk about, I don't have a bunch of names for the releases. like diamonds, hesitation release, you know, the in and out, all those different types of things. I had those and never really had any carryover. What I try to tell them is a point guard crossover is the same as releasing at the line of scrimmage minus the ball. And I felt like that had the biggest impact with these guys, more so than trying to give them a bunch of different types of names and trying to teach them a bunch of different. Now we work different drills, but I just teach everything as if you're a point guard with the ball in your hand and you're trying to set up that dude guarding you. Now you're always going to have a plan in mind. Every point guard has a plan in mind. He wants to do this. He wants to go in and out. He wants to attack his leverage, get him to step, then come back across his face. But he also has to be able to adjust if that defender cuts you off. And so I tell them just to play basketball. Play basketball without the ball in your hand. Everybody wants to claim that they're the best baller in the room. So let's show up and let's show how we are. And you take a look at it, it's the same thing, good bending your 3 power angles, which is your hips, knees, and ankles again. You take a look at Steph Curry right here, emphasizing the crossover, a good bend in his hip, knees, and ankles. His shin angle is at a good point where he can make a transition and break and go back to the other side of the field. And that's exactly what we want to do. You take a look at number 8 in the picture next to him. It's the same bend, the same angles in the shin. It's the same leverage. All right, we just exact same pieces, just minus a ball. And I think with those type of things, we create more fun within the room as far as making our releases more fun. And guys get off the idea of having to, you know, just work a diamond release on this drill, or just work a hesitation release, or just work a in and out, or a square up, or a double, or a single. You know, let's work the best release. You have a plan in mind, and let's work the best release, and then have a plan to it, have an adjustment to it if it doesn't work. So this is the clip I show every freshman at the beginning of the year, and I show it at every beginning meeting. All right, this is exactly what it is. Crossover. His hands get wider. His feet, he got a good base. Now he steps underneath himself, but the defensive back is offside. So I understand he's trying to take a step back so he can recreate his ground, so that way he can get vertical. But it's the same thing. Crossover. Get his hands down. Bend, fight pressure with pressure. Lean. Get back in your lane. All right, and we work this several different ways. We talk about pop-up releases, just working it as if a defender is in front of us. And the biggest thing I got was from a trainer of mine who was coaching me when I was playing. He was talking, we used to use these, I forgot what he called it. They call them pilo sticks or something like that, but the track sticks. And we'd hold them in our hands, and we would work our releases fluidly with our body. And I think your hands and your feet have to match. Crossing, when the point guard does a crossover, his hands and his feet go the same direction. They match each other. If my left foot's extending, my left arm is going that way, because that's where my body momentum is taking me, my leverage. Now I got to use that pressure on that foot to cross back over and go the other way. It's the same thing. So our hands and our feet should match. You see number 1 here, I don't like his overextended hand. I like to keep his hands tighter to his body, but it's the same emphasis, okay? Hands and feet have to match, cross over, get the defender down, off of you, restack, and we do this on the line for a purpose, and I'm sure you guys have seen this drill before, just to get back, restack on the line. Now, number 9, obviously, I would like to get that step going vertical, and that's something that we got to fight day in and day out, because guys want to take that negative step or that false step. I try to practice vertical first step as much as possible if you can take a vertical first step. So one thing we started to add to this drill is putting a cone. Let me see if I can draw it right here. So that way they know they have a point of reference. Now that step has to go to that cone before I can take my next step outside the frame of the bag and get restacked back on this line. And that's a better job by 13. He gets that 6-inch step going vertical, gets that defender down, get chest angle, good vertical presence. All right, then we talk about squaring up the pop-up. So this can be used if we play in a motor mirror corner, a cloud corner, or a guy who's just not overly aggressive. You can also use it off the ball technique versus catch technique. All right, we just want to square the defender up, aiming for his short arm or his outside leverage. all right, or his leverage arm, really. Get that defender to move, then get back vertical. Get his hands down, dip, rip, lower my surface area, get back on my line. And obviously with limited indie time, because we're a big ROA team. So with limited indie time, we got to incorporate some other drills to these drills. So we started to do a square up drill, get his hands down with a curl out the top, just to, add a different piece. Now, we're not just working releases, we're working releases to a finish, okay? Now, you see number 88, and this is something that he fought all year long. He's gotten much, much better at it, all right? His first step, he pops up to the bag, all right? That will get you beat up every day, all day, okay? If your first step is to pop up at the line of scrimmage, you will get, your hands are going to get, your chest is exposed, hands are going to get put in your chest, and you're going to be in a dogfight from the point, from day one, okay? So we tried to talk about giving our chest angle down, not exposing our pads, having our hands loaded, even though we're trying to do a square up. Understand where we're trying to go. Don't give him any point of reference to punch us in the chest. Don't give him any surface area to put his hands on you. So try to keep your chest angle down as much as possible. For some guys, that's going to be different. And you can see this drill. I probably told him on the side, I was like, dude, keep your chest down. Focus on it, and that was his first thing, and that's a better chest angle than the first rep. Now we just got to finish. So again, attacking that outside arm or that short arm, that leverage arm, however you guys want to describe it, however you teach it, okay? We call it the short arm. We want to aim for every defensive back is going to take his first step is going to be 6 inches to his leverage, okay? When I was teaching EBs, it was take your leverage step. Your leverage is inside. Your first step is going to be 6 inch step, leverage step to protect your leverage. We want to aim for 7 inches. So we want to be an inch outside of him to get him in a panic mode to widen just a little bit more. So that way we can slip and get back inside, all right? So again, now does this work with every corner? No, because some corners are going to be overly aggressive, and this is not going to be a good move for him. But the mirror motor type of corners, the back pedal at the line of scrimmage type of corners, this is a very effective release, okay? Get him on his heels, attack that leverage point, get him on his heels, get his arms down, restack. Now, what I don't like is how he just runs the hump. Right here, we talk about fighting leverage, pressure with pressure. Lean back and get back on your line. Same thing there. I think I got a good example of it coming up here. All right. Yep. So attack that short arm, square him up, get his hands down, lean back into him, fight pressure with pressure. All right. At that point, I always emphasize fighting pressure with pressure, because at this point right here, the defensive back doesn't know if you're going to throw him by, go outside, go inside, stop on the dime, come back to the ball. You have a lot of different ways, or just take off, run a post route. You have a lot of different vantage points from here. All right, you have your advantage. Also, you get back into your lane. We don't want to get washed so far inside that way we're catching the ball through all these the linebackers dropping underneath coverage and all that. So we want to make sure that we fight to recreate our line, lean back into it, fight pressure with pressure so we can separate, give ourselves the ability to catch the ball. And this is just a look up at versus catch coverage. Attack that leverage arm. And it's just like a crossover. Boom. All right, forearm releases. Just simple stuff that we do every day, or try to every day, or at least every week. Now, what I do differently, okay, is I put these 3 cones here that you can see right now. The camera's going to zoom out here in a minute. All right, to overemphasize foot placement, okay? Now, this is the first time. What you're going to see is the first example of this drill. It's the first time we did it. And guys are going to fight the need to put their foot in the right place, okay? You can see how he steps underneath himself, all right? Now, he gets a good job of getting his hands down, but his foot placement is not going forward. And the reason we want to do this is, again, just to overemphasize getting their first step going vertical. Because I know in a game, it's not always going to be the same thing. All right, sometimes it's going to happen in place, but we got to overemphasize getting that first step going vertical. Get his hands down, restack, create your line, and just give him a ball. Every time, every drill, ball drill, every drill. All right. Again, same thing, just like the drill. Take it to the field, apply it in useful situations. All right. Get his hands down, restack, fight pressure with pressure. Get back to your line. Same thing. Get his hands off you, fight pressure with pressure, lean back. All right. And then we talk about release and lean. And then the same instance, you're going to see the same cones again. And there it is. I'm a big believer in showing them by example. So I'm trying to show them where the foot placement should go. All right. So this is a clean look. Look at that. Good. All right. So I wanted my first step to go underneath the first cone, second step to go underneath the second cone. And then my third step is going to be in between the first cone and the last cone. All right. That's getting my steps going vertical. And now I'm leaning into a defender fighting pressure with pressure. And this will be a much better drill now because these guys have done it a few times. They've learned, they've overemphasized. You can see his foot placement. Boom, boom, getting that first step going vertical. Now, after 3 steps, he's already 2-3 yards up the field. Now we're working a vertical presence. We're selling a vertical presence. And we're getting that defender in panic mode going vertical. All right, that's everything we want to do is going vertical. Again, and I'm okay with them slowing it down and putting pressure into it because I think they need to overemphasize these steps to get it down. It's a fight against nature at times. Everybody wants to work your release at the line of scrimmage, and sometimes that is necessary. Other times we can get our release going vertical. And if we can, let's do it. Let's get up the field now. Release, get his hands down, lean, 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 fight pressure with pressure. And that's a great job. Okay, now the defender won this drill because we do this. This is a one-on-one. This is just like towel drill. This is box releases, okay? And I'm sure some of you guys have seen this before. 5x5 is the same thing. We'll do towel drill for a few minutes. And then some days we'll do towel drill. Some days we'll do this. Some days we'll do one-on-ones. Just different competition drills between us and the DBs to continue to work their techniques and our techniques, all right? Now, the point of the drill is to get the defender out of the box. And so the DB wins this drill because right here at this point we run the hump. All right. But what I'm overemphasizing here and I'm showing number 9 is that he didn't take that and just say, okay, I'm done. We're going to continue to fight. Lean, lean, lean. At the end of the day, we want to be somewhere and back in our lane too. Okay. There's a great job by him continuing to fight because it's not always going to be perfect, but you just got to continue to fight to work your technique. Lean, fight pressure with pressure, restack. It's a great job by number 8. Get your release going vertical. Lean, fight pressure with pressure, recreate your line. Easy. All right. So we look at number 11 down here at the bottom. These are some in-game examples of this stuff carrying over. This is a motor mirror corner. He's playing all game long. And this is the point where I told him to stop dancing the line of scrimmage and just get your release going vertical. Now, this is his first, this is a true freshman. This is his first game starting, second game of college ever, okay? So I'm babysitting him a little bit, trying to teach him different techniques in the midst of a game, in the midst of chaotic things. But he does a great job of taking some points of emphasis. Now, his first step is underneath himself, but he gets his his second and third step going just a little bit vertical, which I can be proud of because he's come a long way from this point in the drills to carrying it to a live game scenario. Now he's leaning, restack, get back on in your lane, make a play. All right, we talk second level releases. So sometimes this applies to the slot receiver. Sometimes it can apply to the outside receiver if you're playing a true cloud corner or a trap corner. All right, where he's playing that 2x5 outside or inside leverage, however you coach your cover two scheme. And they're just playing that flat-footed catch technique, reading, shuffling, getting his hands on you, trying to displace you by playing the two to the flat or reading run box. If it's a single, all those different types of things. So we try to utilize this working against catch technique, second level release for both the slots and the outside guys. All it is, and we're just going at a slow pace right now, just working the technique of the drill, okay? Working to the defender, square him up, crossover release, get his hands down, lower my pad, my surface area, dip my shoulder, dip and rip, restack, get back on my line. All right, then the next thing we carry over, we try to make it a little more detailed. Now, I use this angle pad, okay, as a defensive back, all right? And you'll see in a moment I'm going to stand behind it with the hand shield, or the popsicle. This inside, it indicates the inside foot of the defender. I want to aim for that inside leverage, square him up, and then I want to get his hands down and release and get back in my lane. I'm overemphasizing this drill for one reason, and that's vertical routes. We're a big 4-vert team, okay? So our slot receivers have to do a great job of getting the hands off them at the second level, getting back into their lane, into their landmarks so that the ball can be put out there in front of them. We cannot get washed too wide. So number 5 does a good job leaning, attacking his leverage. And the other piece of this is when I was coaching safeties, anytime I was always taught to take a 6-inch step to my leverage, all right? So anytime I got a defender, I'm playing catch technique, I'm going to take my first step is always going to be my leverage. Now, if you're attacking me to my leverage, I'm always going to be, my first rule of thought is going to be protect my leverage, okay? So I'm going to continue to slide inch by inch inside to protect my leverage, all right, until I can just square you up and catch you, okay? So by doing that, by attacking his inside leverage, we can get the defender to move slightly inside as well, and we know where we're going. He does not, okay? He doesn't know if we're running a slant across his face, if we're running dig, if we're running a speed out. He doesn't know, all right? So get him to slightly move inside just a hair, so that way you can get his hands down at the second level and get back vertical. And then always emphasizing the ball at the end. Now, one thing we don't want to do as far as with these popsicles, we don't want to overemphasize the chop. We don't want to overextend ourselves because you're gonna get beat up again. You're gonna get rerouted. You're gonna get put on your ass, or you get put on the sideline. Okay, so we want to make sure our hands are tight when we're at the combat phase, getting his hands down off of us. So at the bottom of the screen here, again, you'll see number 11. All right. This defender is playing some type of catch technique, whether you want to call it cover two-man, or whatever it is. It's a great coverage scheme to utilize that second level release, get his hands off you, attack that leverage piece, get his hands off you. So you see the first part of the stem is attacking that inside foot. He squares him up, get his hands off you, restack, get back on your line. You see number 3 here. It's one of our tight ends, but they all get taught the same thing as well. All right, second level release, defender extends his hands. We're attacking that leverage, trying to pin him inside, get his hands down, create a space for me to catch this ball, okay? Up at the top of the screen, again, we're getting a lot of cloud coverage, a lot of cover 2 trap. All right. It's the same thing. It's just catch technique. All right. Work your release. Get his hands off you at the second level. All right. Make a play. All right. And then one of the other things we talk about is just the stem. I think the stem is greatly important, and you don't need to read all this jargon on here. This is basically just saying, I think this is when we talk about versus off coverage, chasing the blind spot, squaring them up versus quick game. I think the stem is heavily important when you're talking about free access releases, and I don't think you can bypass it. So we talk about it every day. A lot of teams we play a lot of cover 4 schemes or cover 3, where they're giving free access releases at the line of scrimmage. And so we have to utilize our stem, all right, to win at the end of the route, at the top of the route. So one of the main drills we do is just blind spot drill. I start them close and then I work away. So I want to overemphasize this is at the top of the route, and I just want to make it real difficult for him to chase my blind spot because it's happening so quick. All right, now I'm running out of there, and we're doing this at a tempo pace to teach the drill, but I'm chasing that back hip. I tell him, you want to take the cash out of my back pocket, okay? You can take the cash out of my back pocket, you reach my blind spot. And when I was coaching DBs, it was always stay on top of your man, keep eyes and leverage on top of your man so that way you can never get put in the blind spot. The blind spot is a panic. It puts the DBs in panic mode because they have no idea where you're at. They don't know where you're gone, and that creates a good situation for us no matter what you're running, okay? So then after a while, we start to move away. And again, I'm gonna make the drill unrealistic as possible and hard because I want them to learn that at some point, we're just trying to teach the technique over and over and over again. I'm gonna drill and drill and drill, chasing the blind spot, and I'm gonna over exaggerate it. So when they get into a live situation, whether it be practice, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11 team periods, competition periods, whatever it might be, they understand that this is how we gotta attack it. Keep going, chasing that blind spot, chasing that back hip. And again, we start short because I want to try to save the legs as much as possible. And then we extend. So I go from 3 yards to 5 yards to a full off at 7.5, 8 yards, getting out of there. And also part of this drill is just emphasizing closing the ground, all right? Exploding off the ball, closing air, closing the ground between you and the defender, putting him in panic mode, okay? Because the more ground you can cover, the more scared he's going to be, the easier a route is going to be to run. Again, at the bottom, number 11, chasing that blind spot. At this point, the defender really has no idea where he's at. He's in that back pocket. He's trying to take the cash out of his back pocket, all right, and come out of his breaks. It's really hard to defend. If you can get in that defender's blind spot, put them in panic mode, especially when you're playing quarters or cover 3 team, where they're trying to chase 2 people in the zone. They're trying to read 1-2 exchange or 2-1 exchange or 3-2 exchange, however you want to read it out. Chasing that blind spot puts them in a disadvantage because they've got a lot of things going on. And it doesn't just apply to comebacks and curls. We can do it within breaking routes as far as digs, posts. And you can see at the top of the screen here, again, number 11, just chasing that blind spot, putting the defensive back in panic mode. At this point right now, he really has no idea where he's at. He's going out, he's going in, across his face. It puts him in a mode where he has to freeze his feet for just a moment. If he freezes his feet for even just a split second, it's enough for us to run by him. All right, we got number 8 here at the top of the screen. Same thing. Chasing that back hip, put him in panic mode. No idea where he's at right now. You know you're going vertical. He doesn't know. He freezes his feet. That's all we need. Just enough time to make a play. All right. And then the last piece we talk about is top of the route. And the three areas that I'm always going to focus on is the pressure step, the hip drop, and the arm action. Okay. Same, just like pressure step for me is characterized as a forceful step that you put in the ground to slow yourself down to transition and get out. All right. A lot of guys, I'll teach this at the top of the breaks will be 1, 2, and 3. All right. That first step is always our pressure step to slow us down. And then the 1 and 2 after the fact are to get out of the break. Okay. Now, again, slow is smooth and smooth is fast as far as we are concerned. So I teach guys to start running their routes at whatever route speed they can to get in that 1, 2, 3 mentality. And then as you grow as a receiver, okay, so say 85% is one of my kids' route speed, and that's what he can. All right, explode off the ball, stress vertical. If we're running a 15-yard comeback, stress vertical for 10 yards. And then the last 5, start to slow yourself down a little bit. Start to get to that 85% so you know you can get out of your break effectively. Chase the blind spot to help yourself out. Work different techniques, restack or hide in the blind spot, however you can to get out of to set yourself up. But understand what your route speed is so that your pressure step and your 2 steps after that are effective. The hip drop, nose over toes, eyes over toes, however you want to teach it, chest over toes, whatever. I over-exaggerate the lean on every drill because I know it's going to come back to a point in the game where they're not going to be over-exaggerated and they're going to be in a perfect position. So I always want to over-exaggerate the lean. I really want to get their chest going down. I want it to be violent at the top, and I want an arm action to happen exactly to go with it. And the same thing I talked about with releases is the same thing I talk about with the top of the route. Your arms and your feet do not work independent of each other. They work together. So you see the guys that beat the drum, they're beating the drum with their feet as well. The guys who can get out of their breaks in 1 step, the Chad Johnsons of the world, their hands go 1 step. Okay, so it's the same thing. If you want to get out of your breaks in 1, 2, 3, your hands got to go 1, 2, and 3 with your body. Okay, and you have to teach that. You got to rep that over and over and over. Again, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. I say it over and over and over again. So we talk about dig cuts, walk, talk, teach. Again, I said I'm a big believer in that. And this is just us walking, talking, and teaching. Our dig cuts, I always teach stop, drop, roll because I know it's something easy to remember. So it's a pressure step, it's a stop step, drop your weight, and then roll off that inside foot. And then my next step after that should be taking me flat down the line. And I just want to walk through it. So then we walk through it real short, then we jog through it. Stop, drop, roll. Stop, drop, roll. And we teach speed cut digs 12 to 14 or 15 to 17, however, 15 to 18. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is guys not a lot of guys can get flat off a 1-step speed cut, nor do they actually take a 1-step speed cut. A lot of guys are fighting against their body. So what I try to teach on a dig cut, even if it's a speed cut, all right, because this is how our speed rolls, stop, drop, roll, all right, helps us effectively get out at our break point, 12 yards or 15, and then be flat by 14 or 18, whatever depth of the dig it is, all right? Or if we're going an Okie route and it's 10 to 12, or it's a sail route and it's 12 to 15, or it's a deep sail, it's 15 to 18, it's the same thing, okay? Now, the guys who can't apply pressure in 1 step and roll out of it and get flat, hey, do you, okay? But I have to coach, all right, to the majority of the room and teach them good fundamentals and techniques that are going to help them be effective. And then I let the guys who have the God-given ability, or as they progress and learn, all right, start to take that 1-step roll cut, all right? So again, stop, drop, roll, flat by 12, good. Flat by 12. And this was a guy that we ran a lot of sail routes with, a lot of Okie routes with, a lot of dig concepts with, because he was very smooth and very effective getting in and out of his breaks. And then we pick it up to full speed and we incorporate a ball. And you see, once it gets to full speed, guys start to reach a little bit and just trying to overemphasize getting down flat. All right, down these cones, catching this ball flat down your line. All right. We talk about You take a look at the top of the screen. It's a dig cut, our high-low concept. Making his cut, flat down his line, all right? Stop, drop, roll. That third step should be getting me flat down my line. Same thing at the top of the screen. Here, number 7. Off coverage, chase the blind spot, stop, drop, roll, flat down the line. Now, he's one of those guys that understood that his route speed was at 85, 90%. So I tried to teach him explode off the ball. He takes a false step, but explode off the ball, get stressed vertical, get that deep defender in a back pedal panic mode, and slow yourself down just a little bit at the top of the route. That's a good job of him understanding his body control and his route speed so that he can effectively 1, 2, 3 come out of this thing. All right, then we do the retrace drill. This is just overemphasizing the top of the route. You got fight pressure with pressure, working back negative to the ball because it is a foot race. If there are defenders on your outside hip and you're running a dig route, when you make your cut, all right, to come downhill, it better be back down your line and negative towards the ball because you are in a foot race now with this defender, one-on-one, to make the catch. He has every right to the ball just like you do, okay? So we teach lean, 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 just the top of the route, cutting down the space, stop, drop, roll, stop, drop, roll, flat down your line, retrace underneath the cones, make the catch. And we apply the pressure drill, same thing to our curls, stop routes, comebacks, just working, getting in that back hip, throwing them by, dropping our weight. And then in this part of the drill, I was emphasizing the sideline toe tap, all right? Just trying to incorporate multiple drills into one so that way we can try to get as much work as possible. We don't want to be super quick with it, all right? I want to overemphasize the nose over the toes, the eyes over the toes, all right? Getting your weight down as you throw him by, use his momentum going forward to get you to go back to where you need to go. All right, so you essentially want to throw him forward so that way you can slow yourself down. And we just want to get our hands slightly on that back plate. All right, not blatant, but we just want to slightly put our hand on that back plate or that upper part of his hip. All right, just so we can gently push him by so that we can slow ourselves down to come out of our break. All right, this is a great job by 88, overemphasizing the drill. All right, his hands are a little too high. Throwing them by, but I'm okay with it because overemphasize getting our eyes over our toes, all right? Coming back out of it. And we do this with the popsicle as well. Lean, 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 throw me by, come back, catch the ball. All right, fight back downhill to the ball. And we run option routes with our 4 verticals. So these are drills that I have to work every day just to teach these guys to overemphasize. If you're running your stow option and you decide to come back down your stem, you've got to run back down to the ball. You've got to fight back downhill as far as you can until you catch this ball. So good job at the top of the route, throw them by, be aggressive, be violent with it, make a play. Good example down here at the bottom, number 8, live game scenario. Throw them by. We want to be overly aggressive at the top, all right? We don't want to just take them lightly or think that this guy's just going to let us run right by, okay? I'm sorry, let us come back through him, okay? We got to be overly aggressive, be violent at the top with our hips and our bend and our arm action, and the rest will take care of itself. Again, right here, same thing. Lean, 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 lean into him, throw him by. use his momentum, all right, to help yourself slow down so that way you can come back to this ball. Obviously, we don't get the ball here, but the drill, the technique stays the technique. All right. Then we talk about the shoot drill. This is just emphasizing at the top of the route, all right, getting our weight down again. These are different types of shoot drills that we use. And this is for our stow option, working our weight, getting our weight down, eyes over our toes, pressure step, 1, 2, coming back downhill. Now he takes a couple more steps. And this is something that we got to continue to work every day so guys can get comfortable with it. Again, stepping underneath himself, coming back downhill to the ball. And this is a tough route to run. The stow is tough because it's a different angle. You're not running a curl route, so you're not coming back to the quarterback. You're coming back down your stem. So sometimes these guys got to take a few more steps because that next step has to go completely 90 degrees. So that way I can get back going downhill, back down my stem. So this is a good job getting his weight down, his eyes down, his hands match his feet. For every step he takes with his feet, his hands match it. That's fluid movement coming back down to the ball. And then we just do the cone drills included so that I don't even know what you would call this, but we call it the short shuttle, the short shuttle drill. All right. So we kind of want to work our way around. Again, breaks at every cone, getting our weight down, hands match our feet. So for every step my foot's going to take, my hands take the same step. And then 1, 2, 3 coming out of it. So it's got pressure step, 1, 2, coming downhill. Now, the biggest point of emphasis to this, outside of our hands matching our feet, is we want to be tight to this bar. All right, so you can see these two guys going, number 1 is tight, number 3 is loose. All right, the loose creates space for that DB to cut us off and make the play. Tight gives us the ability to come fast downhill, attacking the ball now. So overemphasizing being tight to the bar. It's uncomfortable because you'll never run a route with a metal bar sitting there right there. So most guys might take the angle up, coming right through the ball. But I think the shoot itself emphasizes keeping their pad level down. So it's important to have it and emphasizing don't wrap the bar, stay tight to it. You want the bar to be your friend. All right, get upfield. Again, hands match your feet, pad level down, good bend in your hip, knees, and ankles. 1, 2, 3, coming back downhill, tight to the bar. It's a good rep by 13. Pressure step, 1, 2, coming back downhill. All right, it's a good rep in practice. And you see that point right here. I always talk about there's too much space, close the space, because at this point, I want to close the air and close the cushion between me and the defender. That way I can lean back and fight the pressure with pressure. All right, he does that, uses it to his advantage. The defender starts to panic, gives him a little more space, all right, to make this play. Now we just got to finish at the top of the route. But you can see the break point, the release points, all play off in the same factor. 1, 2, 3, coming downhill. At the top of the screen, working his speed release, getting vertical, getting his eyes over his toes, getting his weight, transitioned. We got pressure step, 1, 2, going back downhill. And this is a come back and go. I wish we could have connected on this. Beautiful, beautiful route, wide open. Quarterback got blasted, but the technique stays the technique. Same thing here at the bottom of the screen. Number 8. This kind of incorporates a little of everything, chasing that blind spot, getting that DB in panic mode, getting my eyes over my weight, pressure step, 1, 2, coming back downhill. That's a good angle coming back downhill. It's a great catch by number 11 over the middle. All right. these are just some drills that we do to incorporate these different types of cuts. This is working curl cuts. All right. My foot placement my last step wants to be in between these two bags, and this is my angle coming back downhill. Pressure step 1, 2, coming back downhill. So that last step, that foot should be angled just like they should be running parallel with this bag. If that bag's running like this, my foot should be at the same angle, running parallel with it. All right, back downhill, catch the ball. Pressure step 1, 2, coming back downhill. And we just jog it, walk it, talk it, teach it, and then pick up the pace as we go along. I'm a big believer in short distance drills. That way you can cut the reps down on these guys because they're going to run a shit ton of reps as far as team goes, 7-on-7 goes, 1-on-1s go. So I try to teach the top of the drills, like compartmentalize most of the drills as far as teaching releases, teaching stems, teaching top of the routes in different parts and different phases. And so that way they don't have to run 20 yards just to teach them how to come out of a cut. Now we will work some full speed top of the route stuff at the end as we're trying to teach the drill. But for the most part, we work it within a 5 to 8 yard window. So guys aren't trying to kill themselves every rep, all practice. Try to use that time as a technique portion so that when we get to the actual live stuff, they have the ability in the legs to go and give full effort. All right, so this is something interesting I saw on Twitter one day, and I decided to carry it over. Just a competition drill to get these guys going. All right, competing around the bag. Just a curl cut coming back downhill. If you're the first one to the ball, you're the receiver. If you're the last one to the ball, you're a receiver as well, but you're playing the defender. So you're acting as if a DB is trying to make a interception, and now you got to play DB. You got to get the ball out, okay? Just competing to the ball. Pressure step 1, 2, coming downhill, boom. See, now what we don't want to do is guys start to get carried away and start to cheat just for the sake of the drill, okay? But the competition aspect is important. All right, guys get excited, they get fired up. They don't want to be wrong. They want to be the guy to make the play. There's a good cut by number 9 coming around the bag, tight turn. All right. Now, if you get there first, make a play. It also works making contested catches because now you got a defender right on your back hip. You got to take that ball out of the air, away from your body, working on our emphasis is catching. Arms extended, making a diamond with our hands, snagging it, strong palm, strong grip, taking it away from the leverage of the defender. So you see at the top of the screen, number 8, off coverage corner, making his cut at the top of his route and having to fight back to the ball. Again, same thing. Arms extended. This is the bag drill in a sense. This is the competition drill. This is a working negative. This is our stow concept, working back towards the ball, catching it away from his body, getting upfield. And now I appreciate guys taking the time to listen. I hope you guys got something from it. If you have any questions, you feel free to, this is my contact information. Again, I'm a wide receiver coach and recruiting coordinator for Campbell University. I would say I'd love to get you guys on campus, those that can make it. But as soon as we open up, our doors are always open to anybody and everybody. If you want to come through and watch practice, if you want to come through and talk shop, our guys are always welcoming. And that's my phone number at the bottom. That's my Twitter handle. If you guys want to give me a follow, if you have any questions, feel free to. Also, if you got any recruits, kids that you feel need to be evaluated, you can send them my email. You can text them to me. You can send them on Twitter. We're more than welcome. And thank you guys for listening.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate it. If anybody has any last minute questions for Coach, man, feel free to drop them in there. If not, once again, I know sometimes it is you think of questions later on, but his contact information is there, so feel free to reach out and talk some ball with him. And once again, obviously not more than the receivers coach, handling the recruiting aspect. Coach Bolling does a tremendous job, so definitely hit him up about that. There is one that just came in, Coach. For your outside release, do you coach them to stay inside the red line or keep room for outside throws?
I guess they're talking about for vertical routes. Yeah, we teach them to stay we want to stay on the red line. So at the end of the day, if we're running a vertical route and working outside release, we want to win back to that red line. And the red line becomes our lane 2 in a sense. And that's why you guys, if you saw the tape, there's that white painted line down the field. A lot of teams use it nowadays. That's just the red line that we're emphasizing, getting back on our line so that we can create enough room outside for the throw. Yeah, so that we do. We overemphasize getting back to the red line.
Awesome. Any other questions for Coach? And that answered his question perfectly, Coach. So you good there. Awesome. Well, once again, man, appreciate you jumping on this morning and giving a great presentation and spending some time with us. So thank you for that, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Guys.